Welcome to Business Reporter's Future of Retail campaign. Today we're talking about the future of customer experience, and I'm joined by Vangelis Karalis from Quivos. Good morning, Vangelis.
Good morning.
Recent trends point to a real rebalancing of the relationship between customers and brands, with the power moving into the customer's hands. So how is that impacting the way brands engage with their customers?
Well, it is so true that buying power is increasingly with customers. Brands, they move towards to a much more customer-centric model in order to dominate the customer journey. Talking about the customer journey, if you consider that there are at least 4 major steps in a high-level format, you will see that everybody is searching for a product, is actually evaluating his options, he's buying the product, and finally he's using the product. So for every single one of these steps, there is much more complexity compared to the past, where our grandmothers or grandfathers were trying to buy and use things. This complexity now needs to be dominated somehow from the brands, because you have so many options on searching products or even buying products. You can buy whatever merchandise you like from online or even the brick-and-mortar store, or using your mobile or your iWatch. Just to give you an example, if you have Mary and Chris, and they both like iPhone as a mobile phone, but Mary could be a brand lover, so she wants to buy the new iPhone first, but Chris is a much more price-sensitive guy that he wants to buy in the best available price the same product. You can see that we have same product, same brand, different consumers approaching in a very different way. So that means that everyone has his own customer journey pattern.
I mean, it certainly sounds like a complex change, but why do you still think so many brands are getting it wrong?
Well, all this digital transformation that we are facing nowadays has many challenges. So it requires investments, change in culture, it requires also new technologies. So in order to get all this in place, you need to have a strong willing in change. Most of the retailers today are focusing in short-term results rather in the long term, meaning that all this digital transformation is mostly a marathon rather than a speed race, and we need to invest in people, we need to invest in skills, new skills and new roles within our companies, and this is not something easy to do.
So that's kind of the first stage of your recommendations, but when you're working with these companies, what do you advise them on how they can address the challenges?
What you should do actually is identify your current status and perform a gap analysis to see what you need to fill as a gap. Then define a strategy based on best practices that are, so many out there globally. And then build a structure capable to have a project governance for this type of projects, because we are talking for complex, very complex actually issues here. People are needed, strategy is needed, and execution is crucial for the success.
It sounds great in theory, but how can you create a personalized journey when you've got a company that has maybe customers in the numbers of 100,000, even 1 million customers?
Let's say this is where the magic starts actually.
Right.
So consider that in the past, whenever you were trying to buy something in the local store, the merchant did know you by your first name, your habits, your preferences, whatever. Today, this is not so possible anymore. So technology and applied mathematics and new marketing initiatives can help brands to identify shoppers, analyze their profiles and personas, and then treat them in a much more personalized way. Applied mathematics has been used in order to predict and to forecast in many subjects, like the weather forecast that we run, or the stock exchange forecasts, or even consumer behaviors. The problem all the time since 60s were that we didn't have the capacity, the processing capacity and the quantity of data needed in order to perform this kind of forecasts. Now, this has been changed dramatically. Nowadays, we do have a huge amount of data, and we do have also processing capacity in place.
But with so many channels and so much data being created all the time, how are you confident that you're focusing on the right areas to help your customers achieve loyalty and increase sales?
There is only one way, test and error, which means that we run more than 30 big brands globally. We analyze more than 50 to 60,000 transactions per day, and we also run more than or analyze more than 4 million unique consumer profiles. Having said that, we are quite confident that testing so many tactics and methods against these numbers, we have succeeded to deliver an ROI to our customers in an average of 5.8 times the money that they invest with Kivos, with us, in the methods and the tactics that we use for them. Last but not least, we ran last year for IKEA family, the multinational furniture manufacturer and retailer, more than 4,500 promos within 1 year. And if you consider a year has 360 days, you can do the math.
Yeah, that's some big numbers there. But
Exactly.
So if we maybe stay with IKEA for a bit, how do you measure the success of customer loyalty for them?
We have set a number of series of KPIs like customer retention and customer engagement, but also return on investment for every single promo that we run with them, and even incremental sales. So many KPIs and metrics have been set, and these are being monitored either real time or daily, monthly, yearly. Based on these metrics and based on these numbers that we get from the financial systems, we can measure how successful a program is and what the return on investment is actually of its kind of this investment.
So if we turn our gaze to the future now, what do you see as the next big evolution in CRM?
Well, from my point of view, it's a challenge for a much more personalized and humanized customer relationship management. I have a small daughter, George. Her name is Ioana. She's 11 years old, and every single morning she's actually getting her iPad before getting to school, and she's asking Siri. Siri is a virtual agent from Apple, what the weather will be like today, in order to define her outfit. So if you can imagine that a little girl today is doing this in a so natural way, asking in a natural language, interacting with her iPad in a natural way, asking for an information, can you imagine yourself or me 10 years from now that we could actually have a personal assistant like Siri, asking her a kind of info for our today's agenda, and we could also get a suggestion like, okay, George, you have 2 meetings, but in between I can book you to this or this restaurant, and this suggestion could actually be a well-defined, personalized offer from these 2 restaurants, from Siri to you. So humanized and personalized treatment, which will be actually based on artificial intelligence and machine learning, will dominate the CRM market.
Vangelis, thank you very much.
Thank you, George, so much.